Good evening to everybody. If we are all in, I think we could start. Dear Christine, will you give me just a sign with your hand? Okay, so we will start this ITKAM Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is an honor and a pleasure for me to act as moderator for the third ITKAM Talk that is our meeting of tonight. As you know, the series of ITKAM Talks is the new format invented by the Italian Chamber of Commerce at Frankfurt, not only in order to celebrate its 110th anniversary, but also to overcome the distances and silences caused by the pandemic. The ITKAM initiative has the overall title Together for Growth, which corresponds perfectly well with the intuition triggered by the COVID pandemic that only staying together and acting together, societies will win the challenges. Tonight, we will treat the issue of the smart cities. That means the issue, as says the undertitle of tonight's talk, the issue of intelligent and sustainable mobility of tomorrow. And this is an urgent topic pre-pandemic, but as so many topics accelerated and becoming more urgent even by the pandemic. And just to have you seen one of the Frankfurt Allgemeine Zeitung extra pages, Germany is in research of the Superstadt, of the super city of the smart cities. Before I leave the floor to our first speaker, Professor Federico Cinquepalmi, I would like to remind you that the meeting of tonight is recorded and to excuse from the beginning that I will act as a severe Teutonic school teacher as for the length of the impulses, so that starting from 6:35 sharp, we have some spare time for questions and answers. I ask everybody interested to write his or her questions and comments in the chat. I would like to give a special welcome to the Vice Ambassador of the Federal Republic at Rome, Clemens Mömkes, and of course to Professor Emanuel Gatti, President of the ITKAM at Frankfurt. So our first speaker is Professor Federico Cinquepalmi. He is a researcher of the National Agency for
ITKAM.
Yes, of the Environmental Research of the Italian government and director of the International Affairs in the Italian Ministry for Education, University and Research.
Loro a me non mi sentono.
Since 2015, Professor Cinquepalmi is director of the Office for Internationalization of Higher Education, in charge for all bilateral and multilateral affairs, mobility programs and activities from the Italian side with the EU. He is specialist of our issue tonight, since one of his most important studies treats exactly the topic of our ITKAM talk of tonight. It has the title La città fragile, the fragile city, from smart to revolving city. And this is about evolution of the city according to the concept of circular economy. And I would like to ask you, dear Federico, to explain to us your concept of smart cities, and along with the program, you would have a good 10 minutes to do so. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Christiane. Thank you to the ITKAM initiative for inviting me. I consider it a great honor. In effect, despite the fact that I'm dealing with the international affairs at the Ministry of Education, University and Research since 12 years already, my sector of research has been always devoted to urban environments. And the book that Christiane was mentioning, in effect, was edited in 2 editions. The first one in 2019, and the title was exactly the one mentioning by Christiane, La città fragile, dalla smart alla revolving city. However, once published in November 2019, the pandemic suddenly exploded. And the proposal of my editor, the University of Florence, was to make the English version of the book, extending the analysis, taking into account the transformation of the urban concept connected with pandemic. And considering the fact that even the previous book was dedicated to urban fragilities, it was not so difficult to take into account all the aspects connected with the modern functioning of contemporary cities, and drawing the book that you see in the slide on the screen towards revolving cities, urban fragilities and prospects in the 21st century. That it's a public book that my students, but also yourself, could freely consult at the link that is behind the slide just on the side. Well, the first point that I would like to tackle in our brief discussion of today is what could be considered the smartness of the city in the modern time. The image that you see in the cover, it's a drawing of Leonardo da Vinci, and is representing the evolution of the city of Milan after the project of Filarete for the enlargement projected by the Sforza Duke, transforming the city in Sforzinda. And you see the network and the circle are connected with the new walls, and the 3 different levels of communication related with the road movement, but also with the river movement and canal movement. So the assumption that I create in the book is that every city is a smart city related to the technologies that are applicable for the time where we analyze the city itself. And this is an assumption that you will find in the book in the second part, where I try to describe the evolution of the technologies related to the cities from the most ancient cities in the Sumerian and Babylon time until today, taking few examples related to specific technologies applied to those periods for explaining what I said. So all cities are smart, it depending on the technologies you are analyzing. But coming to more recent time and to the smartness of modern cities, it is an issue that has been approached seriously just after 2010, when the United Nations Development Program established that a real revolution was impacting on the mankind, reversing the percentage of population living in the countryside or in the city. So since the beginning of man's history 200,000 years ago, until 2010, most of the human population used to live in the countryside. 2010 marks the changement, assuming that the majority of the people becoming urban citizens. So the new perspective was forcing demographers, but also geographers and analyzing people like me for urban policies to take a completely different perspective and analyzing the cities as the most important place to be understood in order to guarantee the quality of mankind life. So human beings are becoming essentially citizens. What is meaning this citizenship? Of course, it must be related to, let's say, a matter of latitude, because in Sweden, of course, being citizen of Malmo or Stockholm is not like being citizen in Soweto, Johannesburg, Jakarta, or Cape Town, or Mexico City, or the megalopolis of São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. The majority of those people living in these kind of cities, they really not enjoy the kind of services that we are used to in terms of electricity, services, public transportation, energy supply, and so on. Of course, what we are discussing today is a very much European perspective. Cities, as we are conceiving it in Europe, are effectively very smart, even if in my vision, it would be more appropriate discussing on digital cities instead of smart cities. The most relevant technologies that need to be taken into account are related with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the most advanced contemporary system to analyze and managing the huge amount of data that are continuously produced by modern detecting and analyzing electronic systems in our cities, producing, as I said, an incredible amount of data that needs to be analyzed to be fruitful with a system that, let's say, overcome the capacity of the man brain in order to be analyzed and make it useful for the citizen's life. However, this is, let's say, a false friend. At the end of the day, once again, the results that possibly artificial intelligence algorithms applied to the management of the cities, to the digital cities, for improving the metabolism of the city itself and guarantee the quality of life of the citizens, needs to have, at the end of the chain, public decision makers able to take the results that artificial intelligence propose and applying decisions that are forcefully discretional. So this is the most important point that needs to be taken into account. Of course, artificial intelligence is very useful because it's making our life easier in terms to selecting the appropriate information that are coming to the amount of data that cities are producing today. and one of the most interesting cases for sure the public transportation, but in general the transportation systems. I think we are all familiar with certainly public free systems like the navigators that we all have in our mobile phones that are applying the principle of the artificial intelligence in order to propose the most suitable options to be used by citizen movers around the city in order to facilitate and give the most suitable options for avoiding the traffic, for signalizing the problems on the road, and so on. Anyway, even those systems could be false friend time by time. There was a very funny experiment by a researcher that was putting, because those systems are working on the data flow coming from mobile phones. And this researcher was putting in one single car something like 200 mobile phones connected with the network. And even if he was alone in the street, the system was reading in that place an incredible traffic jam, because all those telephones was giving the sign that that road was full of cars. So it's once again for understanding that artificial intelligence is a very important tool, but it's not the answer. It could be useful for public decision makers to do the appropriate decisions, but it's just a tool, and it must be taken as a tool. Getting to the last point that Christiane was underlining, the terms revolving, it's a new term that I have used, quite proud of it, because I'm the first researcher using this term at international level. The term is connected with the idea of the evolution of the city, but in the same time, the before is giving the sense that this evolution has something to do with a circular movement. Such circular movement is pretty much connected with the image of Leonardo of the cover of the book, of course, because it's representing a circular city, but in the same time is of course related with the concept of the circular economy. The metabolism of the city, for being effective for the quality of life of the citizen, need to apply as much as possible the principles of circular economy. But this is not all the concept behind revolving city. Revolving cities imply for the movement a point that needs to be very clear for all our fellows that are listening online. It's because the quality of life of the citizens is pretty much connected to their relation with the city itself. This is implied that the revolving cities are evolving by adopting, as I said, principle of the circular economy, but in the same time, it's implying the education of the citizen itself. So citizens must have a completely different approach with respect to the past. It means that they consuming without devouring, recycling. Once again, you see that the idea of circulation, it's very important. Recycling as much as possible, and limit the effect of the ecological footprint, personal and urban, respect what I do. So the polite city that is coming out from this concept of the revolving city is probably the most important message of my intervention today and of the future of the intelligence of the cities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Federico. That was a very interesting speech and impulse to our discussion. I like very much your combination of saying that any city is a smart creation of mankind's rationality. I think this is a very important fact. And then that big data is not a threat or can be used as a very useful tool to reinforce the quality of life in the great and big cities of the world, in that perspective of revolving. I like this concept very much, that there is a kind of circular education and communication in the even in the mega cities of today, and that the smartness of the cities and the artificial intelligence might help to reinforce this circular communication and education. Thank you very much. I will pass over the floor immediately to the second two impulses: intelligent and sustainable mobility of tomorrow. Our speakers are Christof and Andreas Pohl. Christof is Chief Executive Officer of Automotive and Transformation, a worldwide technology consulting and engineering company with more than 50 locations worldwide. He's working on mobility for so many years now, and supports automotive in their transformation process towards digital and sustainable mobility. Andreas Pohl is a genuine Mercedes man, if I may say so. He's more than 30 years with the Mercedes company, where he deals with precisely these issues of our talk tonight, and with the introduction of the emission-free vehicles. And I liked the description of your personality, Andreas, to say you are passionate of disruptive changes and digital transformation. I think we are in need of personalities that are not afraid of changes, but that greet them as chances and possibilities. So I would like to start with you, Christof, and then Andreas immediately afterwards. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
We don't hear you, Andreas. Christof, please. Yes.
Let's see. So that's a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Buonasera a tutti. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. We are both from Stuttgart, and as you know, the automotive vehicle, the first one, was invented here. But if you compare a city with the human body, it seems that the body is getting older and it's had some illnesses. So we want to talk about the typical challenges, which we can also see in Stuttgart, but also about the ways how to connect, and the systematic approach can help us in sustaining a mobility that is a big part of our life. So next slide, please. I'm not sure if I can do this by myself. Someone should go for the next
I will help you through with the presentation.
Yes, I think Valentina will help. Yes.
Thank you very much. So Stuttgart is a city that has many challenges. It's a city that is not, as Milano, for example, a city that is wide and flat. We are a city in a valley, and that means that we need to travel in quite limited spaces. And let's see if these slides go on. Can't move them on. Very sorry, but I can't steer the slides. If you could help us.
Valentina, can you go on with the slides?
We can just walk you through, and the slides will follow. Huh?
Can you see the slides?
No, it's just the first one. Yes,
yeah, okay.
now perfect.
Here we go. Exactly. Yeah, and we all want.
Okay.
Yeah, we all want cities like this. This is when a graphic designer imagines the future. But you all know that it's not yet like this. Next slide, please. And the challenges are quite well known. our cities are getting older, and the white space inside the cities is getting very costly. The topography of Stuttgart is quite a challenge, and many other cities have limitations. They have streets that are narrow, they have an old city, or they do not have the space to grow further. This also leads to something that we all know from the last years, that the smog and the emissions are getting worse. And the public transport itself is one of the limited factors. If you want to create something new in public transport, it needs you years or tens of years to create something new, to add capacities. The same is true for the road capacities. And so we have all the simulations that we see here in Stuttgart. It says it will go up another 30 or 50% the traffic, but we do not have the capacities to enlarge this. And also we have a fight between cars and e-bikes, for example, or all the new stuff, where we have angry citizens, and we do not see the public acceptance in many fields. And one big project that we have in Stuttgart is that we want to put the complete train station below earth and clear the space. But we had a massive problem with the communication, how to involve also the citizens and get the acceptance of that. So we want to talk in the next slides with you about what are the options and what can be done, and how can we also make the city a little bit smarter. Andreas, next slide, please.
Yeah, would be great. Thank you. And hello to everybody. I'm really glad to share our minds together with Dr. Christof Horn to the audience here. And as Christof mentioned, we have so many challenges in Stuttgart, and this is also, you can take this into every city in the world. Because we have so many challenges, and the challenge is quite something which is around us. And if we start to talk to the peoples, and this is one of the major issues from my personal opinion, we have to talk to the clients, we have to talk to the population, so that everybody knows what's happened. If we are talking about smart city, we can do it in one way to make it quite abstract and theoretically, and we will lose all of people which are living then in the city. And therefore it's really, really important to listen to them, to get the issues what they have or might have, and to bring it into, like what you see on the left side, the flexible public transport, to bring everything together to make it easy as possible for the people which are using this. Also, if we are spend attention to new mobility channels, it's just to keep an open mind and to try to bring it into an effort. And what Christof mentioned in regards to the topographic issues which we have in Stuttgart, and also all of the older peoples which are also there. And this is an issue to bring them from A to B, and this could be also an issue which could help. As well as then, if you see the express lanes, to spend more attention to the public transportation to make it possible. On one hand, we have limited resources on the road. I mean, we cannot blame all of the cars to bring them out, because it is also mandatory to have them in. But we have to bring it into cooperation, that this works in a better and easier mood. It's also the intermodal mobility, to bring all of the issues together, because you spend attention to the issue, or also to ask yourself, you have a need and you would like to go from A to B, and then bring everything together, what we are doing in Stuttgart with Car2Go as an example, with Movil, to connect this, to make it easy as possible, to have this in one app, which works perfectly and easily for everybody, not for the only for the techies, also for the older people, think and take this into account. Also with the parking areas, to make this possible. On the left side, you see the e-cargos or e-bikes, and also to make this possible, that this is not far away, this is really standard. Automated parking is one project which we have in place at the airport, but is in a really near horizon. So this makes it easier as possible. Leave the car in front of the parking house, go shopping or whatever, and the technical on another side would take care of your car. And if you're coming back,
Andreas,
then the car.
You're a little bit, your line is a little bit broken. So if I may jump in and support you on that.
Yeah, it's okay.
So if we look on all this stuff that's on this slide, we can see several major aspects. First, the modes of transportation and the technological possibilities are as big as never before. Also, we're going away from just having a train running there. We have so many different things like pods going on, or a flexibilization, and everything is connected, etc. So the number of ways how you can do this is growing and growing. And if you look, for example, looking on the e-bikes, this is the solution for Stuttgart, as we have a valley and hills and up and down and so on. But to make this efficient and not just to add another way of mobility, what we've learned is that it needs to be interconnected, intermodal. It's a systematic approach, and you need to measure also if this is really helping us or not. And there are two other things that we wanted also to mention here. That is, first, some of the solutions for mobility do not lie in technology or in big stuff. So the neighborhood help, for example, is starting to create really an effect in mobility, in support, etc., because it creates a sort of community in a local one. And this is also supported by making the information public. And if we go to the next slide, I want to show you something in addition, which we have done. And we are running a panel of 250 million smartphones worldwide, where we can measure in an anonymized way, so it's fully compliant, how people move and what they're doing. And we did this to make, to visualize how mobility is really evolving. And we said the mobility is not just going from A to B. It's an overall transport capacity, like the traffic flow. It has to do with the air quality, and it has to do with the sustainability of the modes we are choosing. So we can measure, and every city can measure this with quite easy effort, to make also a visual for the citizens to enable their choice when they go outside their house and they want to go from A to B. What is the right mode to go? What is the right vehicle to choose? And we see so many times that still the car is so comfortable if you have one. So what we think is, next slide please, that we can use data and connect all the systems to make a win-win-win situation. Because between someone who wants to participate in mobility, between the cities who need a mobility performance that is good enough and an air quality that's good enough, and us as people, as citizens, who then can rely on something that is still improving or still capable of going outside. And I think we will see after COVID also, we have measured this, that everything was going down during the lockdowns, of course, but then it comes back. And we want to have it come back in a more sustainable, in a more efficient way than before. That's what we can measure. That's what we can see. And we just want to encourage you that the use of technologies, etc., is something that you can bring together to the party. It's not as easy as never before to activate people, to mobilize people, and to make this visual and happen. Andreas?
Yeah, I hope my line doesn't break again. Thank you, Christof. It's what Christof mentioned. It's to bring everything together, like the people, the economy, the cities, and the key is the data. And to collect the data and to work with the data and take the right results out, and then to make all of the change in what we call it, the change of mobility behavior. Because today we have quite a lot of comfort, because we can do whatever we like. We can take our car at which time ever we would like to do it. But this should change then in a near time, and then we have to make this not as a something is less, and I will be so much empty in the future. This is totally to come to do that, but this to collect and to bring all of them there, this is a huge challenge. But I believe that we are on a really good mood, and we are in Stuttgart, but we are also in a good mood because this is a huge project, and time will tell, and we have to take time to bring everything in place. And what I mentioned before, we have to make the right communications that everybody is know what we are talking. Then if not, then he said, okay, it's nothing for me because I'm not with this, because it's not understandable. Thank you.
I'm a little bit afraid of Mrs. Lehrmann because time is run up, but hopefully you got
my school teacher, Sylvianus, please, no, finish your talks. It's very interesting, please.
No, fine. We finished. So
okay.
Open for discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is extremely interesting. Very many years ago, I had the chance to accompany a Stuttgart delegation to the town of Turin, to the city of Turin in Piedmont, another typical car city, obviously with Mercedes in Stuttgart and Fiat in Torino. This is why I like this ITKAM talk so much, because I think Italy and Germany can learn one from another, especially in this sector of how to change cities to become perhaps less car-oriented and car-concentrated, and develop all these perspectives that you described for us. And I like it very much that it's not only a perspective of renouncing to commodities, but that you describe us possibilities, perspectives that can then be positive for the normal citizen. That and this is, I think you're right, absolutely right, that this is a communication problem, first of all, that you have to explain to people that they do not have necessarily to renounce on their car or to get more immobile, but that there are other chances and other possibilities. Thank you so much. That was very interesting. And our fourth speaker tonight is Miss Julia Voike. She's membership coordinator and project manager of the ITKAM in Frankfurt. She's responsible for the implementation of projects in the name of the German Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs. BMWI is the sigle. And since ITKAM is organizing a project on the smart cities, Julia will provide our audience with some detailed information about this project that will take place in northern Italy, beginning in the end of this year. And I think this is very interesting with the connection you created between the federal ministry and the international agency of the region of Baden-Württemberg. We are very curious to listen to you, Julia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christiane, for this introduction. I just wanted to share my screen with you for a presentation. It's not working right now, unfortunately.
I try to share the screen, Julia.
Okay, can you help me out? That would be
Yes,
perfect.
of course.
Thank you very much.
Just a second. And here we are.
Okay, perfect.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it. Thank you, Valentina. Yeah, thanks again for giving me the word. And I would like to inform you about another project of ours that is in the same sector, in the smart city sector. I also would like to thank, in the name of ITKAM, Professor Cinquepalmi and Mr. Pohl and Dr. Horn for their contributions. At the beginning of November, we as ITKAM will organize a 3-day business event for German SME in Italy. It's called Initiating Business Opportunities Smart Cities, and it's part of the foreign market entry program of the BMWI. The BMWI would be the German Ministry of Economic Affairs. So if you can move to the second slide, please. Valentina?
Yes. Can you say
Okay.
it, the second slide?
Yes. Maybe I can even move myself. I will try by the next one.
Okay, you can
So,
try it, of course.
okay. So basically, as I said, this foreign market entry program consists of different modules. It's mainly thought for SME, for small and medium enterprise, but also bigger companies, German companies can participate. And these projects of the BMW are offered in many different countries of the world. So I will try to move. Yeah, I can move actually. So we are doing this project on behalf of the BMW, as I said, and it will take place exactly from the 8th of November to the 11th of November 2021. We will travel to northern Italy, and we will set our focus on smart mobility and smart environment. So what we are basically looking for, we are looking for German companies who are producers or providers or suppliers of technology solutions or products for a smart city, and who are interested in entering the Italian market. They are very welcome and invited to participate in this project. So I'm going to move to the next slide. Okay. On the next slide, you can see some detailed information about our program. It's a 3-day business trip, or considering travel 4-day business trip. We obviously hope that we can this time go back to Italy and not have to do it digitally like we had to do in this last period. But we are optimistic and looking forward to it. As I said, we're planning to visit northern Italy. The regions that we're looking to are Lombardy, Veneto, and South Tyrol, since these are also the regions where the Olympic Winter Games 2026 will take place, and therefore will probably be very interesting for smart solutions. We will then also visit other Italian cities, probably Milan or another city in the north, and look at their smart city concepts. I have to say, though, that the program right now is not finalized. There might also be some changes. Every German participant who will then have the occasion to shortly present his or her company. There's a presentation event in front of an Italian target audience. And another important part of this project are the individual organized B2B meetings with potential Italian partners, customers. And for the B2B meetings, we will select or invite on the basis of the German participants' indications and requests and needs the Italian counterparts. So let me go to the next slide. Okay, as I already said before, our target are mainly German SMEs, producers, providers in the smart city sector. But I say it again, the German ministry also allows bigger companies. And on the Italian side, we're looking for cities, for regions, for associations, networks, or other players or representatives who are active in the smart city sector and are interested in a potential collaboration with German companies. That's mainly our target, but it's quite wide. And once we have selected the German participants for us, we will then go and see what is exactly what they are looking for, and then look in Italy who will be our participants. Yeah, last but not least, I wanted to give you this small save the date. As I said, the trip will take place from November 8th to 11th. And here I just wanted to show you the title of the project in German and in Italian, because if you go on our website and you look for the information, you will not find this in English, but you will find it either in German or in Italian. So you can either look for Geschäftsanbahnung Italien or Evento di Internazionalizzazione Smart City. This was just a brief introduction to the project. You are in every moment very welcome to contact us if you would like to get further information or if you're interested in participating. And yeah, I give you, last but not least, our contact details, but you can always find them on the website. Thank you very, very much for your attention. I give the word back to Christiane, and if there are questions, I'm available. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Julia. That was very interesting, and I think it's another initiative to strengthen the already very strong connections between the entrepreneur world of Northern Italy with the one in Germany. That is one of the most strong bridges, I would say, between the two societies, and perhaps in a future one can extend this interest from the German small and medium enterprises to South Italy. That is a territory of, I think, very vivid development. Thank you so much. I open the floor for questions and answers, since we have, I think, like 10 minutes left. So please, if anyone has some question to our speakers, please feel welcome to.
Let me just say one last word.
Yes, please.
For now, we have still 3 places for this trip available. So since it's a limited amount of companies that we can take with us, but for now, there is still room. Thanks.
Sure, thank you so much. Again, with my example of Torino, the Winter Olympic Games in, I think it was 2006, were a very strong impulse for the development of the city and the region. So I hope that also for Milan and Cortina, the Olympic Winter Games will be a push for further development.
If there are any questions, you can write in the chat, or you can also take the opportunity to speak direct to the speakers. So just let us know. We have a question. Thank you so much for Mr. Agnello. What is the role of the Italian companies in the project described by
Julia?
Boyke?
Yes.
Yeah, I can try to answer that. So it depends a lot on the German companies that are taking that are taking part in this project. It varies. Sometimes, for example, there are German companies who would like to find a distributor in Italy for their products, so then they look for a distributor. Sometimes they even look for collaborations, and they are looking for somebody who new products that they can implement into their range and bring on the German market. But more often it's for the German companies who are looking to enter the Italian market, but in various ways. Some look for direct customers, some look for collaborations, some look for distributors, some look for representatives. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much, Julia. We have another question, always for you, Julia, from Julian Gutzgesell. She asked, if only 3 open spots are left, what would you be looking for? What kind of topics, which fields I've already covered?
Well, as I said, since it's a really big topic and a wide range, already the ministry has limited it to basically smart mobility and smart environment. So those are the two main topics. So it would be great if companies were from that were from that sector. But then there's also again, the ministry says companies have to be accepted in the range of their inscription. So if you want to take part, you send us the your participation, and then you're basically in. So first come, first serve, more or less.
Okay, thank you so much. I can't see any other questions. If
So,
there's participant wants to say something
yes,
or
sure.
want to add something. Oh, we have another question from Mr. Agnello. How much has already been achieved compared to the goal in Stuttgart? Is this a question? I think this is a question for our guests, Dr. Horn and Mr. Pohl.
Pohl, yes.
Then I would try to answer.
Perfect.
If it is a question to our side and not for the Italian side, but I try to do that. The goals are not fulfilled right now because all of the goals are moving task. And what I mentioned before is we are not in a top position if we are talking about smart cities themselves. We might be in a third quarter, and this is pretty good because we have so many different challenges in Stuttgart which we have to take into account. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you so much, Andreas. I think we have come to the end of our talk very punctually, and in my function as German school teacher, I'm very glad of that too. And I thank you again, all four speakers, for your very interesting inputs. I think the extremely important, and for all of us as citizens, urgent challenge of the smart city. We have another.
We have another question
yes.
from Mr. Lampe. He asks, perhaps Villa Vigoni could start a discussion about the future vision of the city in 2050. I think
so. That means in 2050, Villa Vigoni exists still and should discuss it. No, this is just kidding. I would very much like that. Thank you so much. This is a very important impulse, and in the small dimension that Villa Vigoni can participate in this debate, we already do, but we can reinforce this this issue in our program. Thank you very much. I think this is especially in the dialogue between Italy and Germany. This is a very, very important topic, and I will consult with our friend Federico Cinquepalmi and have elaborate a plan what Villa Vigoni can contribute to this discussion. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, ITKAM, for organizing again this very interesting talk. I would like, in conclusion, to hint to the next meeting that is the 28th of June, and it's dedicated to the title Accelerate Entrepreneurship in the EU and Worldwide. So this is that has to do with the startup challenge, and I think this is especially for Italy and once again for the south of Italy a very urgent problem. So I hope we will see again on the 28th of June. Thank you so much and have a nice evening and goodbye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.